Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are just a couple of days out from the official release of Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny on June 30th. A lot of fans are really interested to see exactly how the box office numbers, officially speaking, are going to match up with the projections that have been pretty much on point reportedly, based on fan interest levels as well as the lack of marketing by Disney up until last minute and more. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into the subject. Now, we know that Steven Spielberg executive produced this film, and he's been heavily defending this movie, at least for the most part, though he did admit that he was not 100% in agreement with the ending of the movie that's in the can, by the way. That's in the final version of the movie. He's not 100% supportive of that. He's been very open about that, but he respects it. And this is where things get a little crazy, because he kind of starts to sound much like Kathleen Kennedy when being questioned about toxic fans, the loud and opinionated fans, quote-unquote, etc., and everything to do with the Indy 5 backlash and people not wanting to go ahead and see this movie and more. So let's dive into exactly what's going on here with Steven Spielberg and why he's kind of parroting Kathleen Kennedy in certain scenarios. So let's get into this now, alright? So with Steven Spielberg promoting Indy 5 endlessly days before its release on June 30th, he recently went on to discuss his view on the outspoken and upset fans about the franchise. He delivered the following: "Let me just say one thing, and this is something I agree on with Kathy Kennedy despite our slight differences in filmmaking, is that these people are seriously not fans. If you have a group of individuals that are refusing to see a film before it has released, let alone before hearing a review from a friend or family member or a close one at the very least, and you are a fan of Indy, then you are really not a true fan. What we created with this installment, I would go as far to say and call a masterpiece. James Mangold directed the hell out of this thing, and did a fanatical job doing so. He truly knows his stuff, and the funding can be seen on the big screen. I have no doubts in my mind about all of this, and about this film underperforming at the box office. And for those speaking low about this film are exaggerating. I can almost guarantee it's not as bad as some of the critics that have seen it are putting it out on paper." Now let me stop here for a second, guys. I don't know about you, but it's coming across like Spielberg is getting very desperate to save this movie, to really kind of make it like the critics are over-exaggerating, that the critics are not being honest. Let me say one thing. When you have even the Hollywood critics in the Hollywood sphere not being lenient with this movie, and being very much harsh against it, that's when you know you're in trouble. That's when you know things are really unleashed, and things are not looking good for you with Lucasfilm. I mean, the fact that there were no embargoes on the reviews of Indy 5, that is a telltale sign, big time, that Disney is desperate. And we did talk about this. There was a plan that Bob Iger and the higher-ups created. They did not want an embargo with the Indy 5 review, because they wanted to get more positive reviews out there as soon as possible, and that completely turned itself upside down. It was like they shot themselves in the foot by doing that, basically. You know, there was no embargo, hence there are more reviews, bad reviews, mind you, coming out in a very rapid rate, and that just goes to show you that this movie is much like The Last Jedi. It may look very good, it may be cinematic looking, where it's very impressive in appearance at times, but in all seriousness, the story is going to be extremely lacking any kind of validity or any kind of, speciality by James Mangold and Kathleen Kennedy, as well as any kind of logic, is going to be missing from this story. So let's dive into this further, shall we? So he goes on to continue: "In this day and age, you just have to trust your own vision and not listen to fan responses, because it gets in the way of your creative vision. The fact that we have a new generation of characters like Helena and Teddy They really lead the way in this film, and that's something I was proud of when executive producing this thing. Mangold really knows his stuff. We may have not agreed on the ending 100%, but his storyline handling of Helena was top-notch, and she really is the star of the story. People keep asking me of this film whether or not it'll be a flop, and I just have to say and laugh that off. It's nothing more than predictions. We expect this film to be the most successful of all the other ones. I can almost guarantee that, and we intend to adapt with sequels. We are still discussing that right now. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about Steven Spielberg. Is he out of his mind? Does he really believe that this movie's gonna make more money than the original 3, let alone all the other 4 together? It really just goes to show you that either they are trying to oversell this film just to get anybody into a theater seat, just to get butts in seats as fast as possible. That's when you know that they are very desperate and they know what's coming. This is most likely, and it has the chance of becoming worse than The Last Jedi as far as fan backlash goes, as far as ticket sales go, etc., etc. Now look, as bad as The Last Jedi was, it still made money. Let's be honest. It still made a really good amount of money, and there's a reasoning behind that, is that nobody really knew going in what this movie was going to offer, because that marketing plan that they had for The Last Jedi, I will admit, was top-notch effective. It was very well done. Those teasers, those TV spots, it really reframed the entire movie of what it really was. So guys, let that be a lesson that all those TV spots and the clips that you do see on the internet, it doesn't necessarily mean that's what the movie's gonna feel like, per se. That doesn't really mean how it's gonna flow or what the tone is gonna be like. I want you guys to maybe go ahead, check back a couple of years. It's well over 4 years ago at this point. But The Last Jedi TV spots, a great example is The Last Jedi Tempt. Type that up. The Last Jedi Tempt. Tempt. And that one TV spot really makes it look like a fantastic movie. And it makes you want to go ahead and see it. And then when you actually see The Last Jedi, that tone is just not there. It's non-existent. So that's just a little lesson to be learned, that TV spots do not equal tone in the actual final cut of the movie. And Spielberg seems to be getting very defensive over that he's trying to oversell this thing. He really is trying to make it like, this is going to be the most successful Indiana movie of all. Well, I can say one thing that they did about this movie that is different from all the others is that this is the most expensive Indiana Jones movie in history, and yes, that's a given fact. They even said that. They poured nearly $300 million into this thing. That's a lot of money, guys. I mean, that's huge. And to think that you're gonna make all of that back, or triple the amount back, as Bob Iger is, predicting, just domestically speaking, is insane. I don't know where they get those numbers from, but that's what they believe in, and they probably don't believe in that in reality. That's probably just their way to say whatever they gotta say to get people in those seats. That's pretty much what it dwindles down to. So, anyways, guys, I would love to hear your take on this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.